we are here with the CEO of Blockade Games, Marguerite DeCourcelle. Okay, cool. And they've been working on what they call the new blockchain gaming experience. But before we dive into that, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into blockchain gaming?
Sure. So I've been in the crypto space since 2013, and I started out as a creative technologist. I was really interested in the intersection of art and Bitcoin. I started out making Bitcoin puzzles, like hiding private keys in paintings, which became basically a gamified experience. And as I was producing these, I was attracting engineers, other artists, other creatives, and soon we had a team of 5 to 10 people since 2014, and we started being recruited to make marketing projects for different projects in the space. And so from there, we basically decided to launch the game company in 2018 when we saw the potential of NFTs. It was something we had always been watching. In 2014, I had made a game with Counterparty and Let's Talk Bitcoin. If anyone knows Andreas Antonopoulos and Adam B. Levine, we made a game in which you used a vending system to send tokens and then unlock levels. But what we saw was the user drop off was so high in comparison to these open. Where'd he go? Oh, okay. In comparison to these sort of open experiences that have in the Flames there's a private key, and so anybody can solve it. They didn't have to they weren't asked to do anything download a wallet or whatever. That you could just solve this and get the Bitcoin. So this painting actually had 5 Bitcoin in it that took someone 3 years to solve. I made it at the bottom of the bear market in 2015, and then at the it was solved at the top of the bull run in 2017, February 20, January 2018. Yeah. And the person that saw this actually became an engineer for Blockade eventually, as a community member. So that's a little bit how we got into the creative side of blockchain and the applications. And notoriously, we've always shipped these projects in about a month timeline. And then they would have about 3 months of play. But we decided that we wanted to really focus on building a platform and experience in which we could keep feeding the community engagement and growing out the experience, as opposed to these one-off experiences that, while they potentially did go viral, it's just like you had to restart projects over and over again, and that didn't seem very effective. So we thought about, from all of our experience with friction, blockchain, if we could make the perfect blockchain game, what would it have? So here's some examples of our wish list and what we wanted to accomplish back then. And some of those things are the free-to-play experience. How does you walk on with a username password and just start playing? And they don't even know it's crypto. And then also, so then thinking about what does a traditional game experience bring that the blockchain games do not bring, and trying to problem solve that.
So is this the ultimate gaming experience?
This was our idea of the ultimate gaming experience, and I'm excited because I think that we have checked every box.
Cool. So you're a Bitcoin OG.
Yes.
And so you've experienced the friction and the drop off through that. What excites you about what blockchain can bring to games?
So the idea of we were talking earlier, if you've ever played World of Warcraft, you know how painful it was to level up a character all the way to level 15, and then you decide, wait, I want to change something about it, and or have different skills, and you didn't have a way to do that. So people were selling their accounts illegally, and a lot of times they would get those accounts taken away. So as a gamer, this was around the time I was really getting into Bitcoin too, when I was playing, and I was thinking, man, it'd be really cool if my WoW Gold actually had a real world use case. So, or just in some way it could derive the value, because WoW is such a time sink. Eventually got burned out, stopped playing. I think that's the story for just about anyone that's played WoW. There's something that they're just they're done.
Well, it's the game of this conference today, because WoW Classic is now out, and I think Vitalik was asked if he would re-roll his Warlock and all that stuff. So maybe there'll be a resurgence because there's a classic version.
Right, and that we were talking about how they introduced these new features because of those the player pain points. But so the blockchain brings that ability to optimize your inventory and your characters and your crafting and your sets, and you can even make it a profession. So you could be so good at leveling or designing certain characters and making sets that people would that don't want to put the time in could buy those off the marketplace. But it's skill based. So it's very important to have skill and strategy in order to have the opportunity for wealth creation, especially in an application like this where the goal is to basically create a super wide funnel where you onboard with cash. You're buying the in-game currency, which is totally legal in what we do today.
Virtual currency.
Virtual currency, yep. And then you funnel that into your game assets, which is token backed. And now you're playing with these token backed assets, and you can then go get your first Ethereum, Bitcoin. We have basically payment gateways in which you can settle in many different currencies. So that opportunity was something I always wanted to exist. I think a lot of us have probably wanted that to exist.
Sure. I mean, to the point of the time sink, right? Besides the enjoyment of the game that you're getting out of the, time played playing Warcraft, which I will admit, my time played playing Warcraft is probably over 4 days, 4 human days, right? Besides the utility of the enjoyment of the game, you don't get anything because Blizzard owns all of the assets. They own all of the loot, all of your character, and that's work. That's hours. That's my time and effort in this gaming environment. Perhaps in a Web3 world, I should own some of that. I should be able to monetize some of that.
Yep. Well, and that was another thing was that we actually removed having to download a wallet. So that's all packaged into, like we were talking. I'm not sure where we are in the slides. New one?
It's right down there, too.
Oh, okay. Yep. So as we were building this out, we realized we went to GDC in 2018, and we had this like platform we wanted to make. We started designing the RPG. How do we make design for an open economy and not have it a pay-to-win model? Turns out that's actually a very, very hard problem. And we threw away, I think, 3 game designs that we had totally written out and also written out the engine for before we realized we needed to go recruit some people. And so started to team up with Chris Chapman, who worked with Ralph Costner. If anybody's read the A Theory of Fun, it's a game design book. They worked together and they had a startup acquired by Disney. So he was a producer there. Now he's our executive producer. We brought on people from our game designers came from Upper Deck, which is at the coast. And now our project manager, he worked on H1Z1, which was one of the first Battle Royale games. So additionally, I mean, you can see all these labels up there. Like people came from the game space, and that took about at the 6-month point, started bringing them in, and then at the 12-month point, I think we had everybody. So that makes the world a difference to actually have this blend of your tech creatives, people that understand blockchain, what the user wants to do with the blockchain, and then these game developers that can tell you that you have to design in a very specific, thoughtful way. So in our game, it's designed very wide. But I think I'll talk more about that later.
So our game, you're currently working on
Neon District.
Neon District.
Yep, is the major title.
So we'll get to Neon District, but before we go there, we talked about de-risking Neon District and the path you guys took to get to where you are now, and certainly bringing on the folks with experience, which is always a good thing to do, was one phase. But do you want to talk about the other ways that you kind of like de-risked or learned about user onboarding or what? Because blockchain's new, right? And so those experiences have to be discovered, what the gamers actually want out of this. So how did you guys go about that?
Yep. So we had Plasmabearers, which is the first free-to-play blockchain game, and it had some pretty cool features, like you could play it in Facebook. It was just username sign-on, and because it was on a sidechain and it was free to play, you could airdrop these over email. So we teamed up with different brands, and that was a great way for user acquisition, basically. And then also on social media, you can make special bears for influencers. They could have limited editions. But the way you got these bears was by you were given some when you made an account. They were just plain starter bears. But then as you played the text adventure, you accumulated more bear parts. So this bear is basically like a Build-A-Bear, in which it's composed of multiple tokens that are then bundled. And you can swap out those parts as you find new, better parts to upgrade. And the art is all different styles. We just were testing out, though, that free-to-play feature and our smart contracts that we wanted to use for the composability feature. And it's still online. It's still, ever since February or December is when it launched, and then it's still online, hasn't gone down, and people had that funnel in which they onboarded. You can play on mobile too, by the way, and then move it over to Ethereum, like sell it on OpenSea. So, yeah.
Sweet. So the marketplaces are kind of like a free commodity that you guys have when you're building these assets. Like all of a sudden they plug into OpenSea and users get that utility right away.
Right. Yep. I really believe that a marketplace is a business, right? And like our business is to make this awesome free-to-play game. And I think in the Ethereum space, we see a lot of developers building tools for each other for us to use and make these experiences better. So I really don't believe that we should be trying to do all the things just because we want it to be our brand.
Right. You might get into a case where people are going to make derivative contracts on your Plasmabearers, right? Like, will I be able to, get the piece that everyone is coveting?
Yeah. There was a mention like Ledger of Szabo. It's kind of cool. I don't know. It did a Bitcoin Lightning integration with Ethereum smart contracts, and you could make it had a user-generated pipeline, so you could make your own characters, design them, submit them, get them in the game, and it was super cool actually because I made a Spider-Man, and who shot webs to walk around this basically Legend of Zelda inspired game, which is all crypto memed. It's completely made from scratch, but it was so rewarding to do that. So I can imagine like with that same user generated pipeline, like we created an API, we did a lot of work so that when Neon District rolls out, you can have artists make painted assets in which they could have limited editions of them and publish. Yeah.
So I want to touch on that real quick because I love Bitcoin. I've been in Bitcoin since 2013 as well. And I think it's super, super interesting because when you go out into, let's say, crypto Twitter, right, there's the maximalist camps. But what you just talked about is using Bitcoin Lightning Network and Ethereum together in one experience. That's super cool. Like, how do we get more of that going and less toxic maximalism, if we're going to use a term that's thrown out there?
Well, so I think like this is just my opinion, but the Ethereum communities, when I walked into it from the Bitcoin community, it was so apparent that this is it's a very healthy, developer-friendly space to work in. And ConsenSys and a lot of these projects that, like the hackathons, are very supportive about diversity and make a real effort to support each other's projects, I guess. And I think that the creativity and the app development of that space is what. So I think when we have more crossover of like, let's just play more and be more playful. With Bitcoin, they take themselves so seriously, which isn't fine. I think that's important to be like continuing that type of work. But I think that playful side, as we see creative projects such as ours and others that are working, it makes it it's really hard, I think, for the Bitcoiners to hate Ledger of Szabo. Right. Like, because it's fun and playful and has so many nods, like the Satoshi white papers woven in there. Right. There was that one Bitcoin hidden through 8 puzzles that, and there's dungeons, there's a whole world.
And you said there's still five unclaimed puzzles?
Yep, 5 unclaimed puzzles.
So you can go play Legend of Szabo. You could get some Bitcoin.
Well, so you have the only thing that you need is one of these characters, which basically is like a key in your wallet to let you allow yourself to play the game. So the game itself is totally free to play. But you can't explore it unless you have a character.
Sweet. So maybe in Bitcoin conferences they should dress up and play more, but we don't need to get into that. Okay, so we will show a trailer of Neon District, but before we get in there, do you guys expect, I guess, any scalability issues because you're using blockchain? I mean, that is a hot topic in gaming land for Ethereum and blockchain in general.
Right. Well, so all this work that we've done has been to iterate on our tech stack and us to test and see how the network performs. So currently with our pre-alpha SDK that we have underneath Neon District, we can do tens of thousands of simultaneous users. And then we can do about millions of daily active users. So to me, that's like, okay, that's pretty good numbers for right now. We're using a Loom SDK, like game chain basically, that we're hosting. So, but we're building it in a way that you can swap out that blockchain for whatever makes the most sense. And that's actually how we're building this middleware, so that in the future when we open it up to other game developers, they can use a preferred blockchain and they can preferred token for the experience they want. So I like that this piece is very adaptable, developer friendly.
So more composability between blockchains.
Yeah, well, and also like bringing in the different projects, people that are working on great tools like Matic over there. You guys killing it. I mean, there's a lot of developers here that we want to support and bring the game developers too.
Cool. One one of the things that you told me is about your distribution for this game. So how is Neon District going to be released?
Yeah, so I mean, because we don't have a fungible token, we get to participate in all the mainstream marketplaces. So we'll be launching the very first version of it in December on Steam. And if anybody knows, like, the average of players on Steam for a game that launches is tens of thousands of players.
So out of the box, you'll have, and total number of Steam users is in the millions. So like the potential reach is
right.
So out of the box, you'll have reach of potentially millions of users that will have a blockchain native game, and they don't need to know about it at all.
Right. And I mean, on the flip side of that, of course, you have games that don't do well at all, right?
Right, sure.
So
There's no guarantee.
Right.
But Neon District itself looks pretty cool.
Yep.
Do we want to show the opening sequence?
Yeah.
Nope. Oh.
So what's happening here is there's this game being sold and it's selling out. So everyone's really angry. This part's going to have voiceover in the near future.
There's a copy in Neon District.
LOL, no.
He said that there's a copy in Neon District available.
Awesome music.
Our sound designer is pretty awesome. And we have another clip that shows a little bit of gameplay and some of the backgrounds. And it does have a little bit of that starter clip, but like I want to play it anyway so you guys can
Cool.
get it.
Yeah.
So this is an example of one of the Neon District backgrounds there. The game is obviously very cyberpunk, Final Fantasy inspired, turn-based. And when I was talking about the design, well, I guess I should talk about the world building here. So we've spent a lot of time on story, comics, art, making it, there's humor, there's cogs that make jokes, funny, not funny jokes.
So this is a gameplay sequence right now that we're watching.
Yep. Cool. And you'll notice, so we're still pre-alpha, so you'll notice that things are still a little buggy, but you can kind of get an idea.
Cool. And so I guess as we're watching, how does introducing blockchain impact the game design?
So, well, actually, maybe I should wait for that one slide about
Okay, sure.
revenue.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but so that was Eclipse of Season 0 also, which we had a founder sale in July. And this is an example of the UI that you'll have during for Season 1. So you can see like all the stats and the programs they're equipped with. You can see all these little dots around the character. You can replace, so it's a bundle, just like kind of when I was describing the Plasmabearer, you can replace the helmet, the gear, with customizable art, or different editions that we release, or things you collect in game. You have the leveling, which requires juice, which you collect. It's a consumable that you get within the game as well. And
so all those dots are NFTs?
Those are like placeholders. So when you would click it, you can swap out. It'll open up in your inventory, like all your helmets available that you can exchange with.
And the helmet is an NFT?
The helmet is an NFT. Yep.
Cool.
And then you can sell things individually, like the helmet, or you can sell things bundled as a whole character or a set of characters.
Awesome. So maximum customizability for your tune?
Yep. Well, and as you want to level up different pieces as you get them.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. So does it? We're talking about open economies and selling pieces of the game. That was a part of the design from the beginning.
Right. Yep. And I guess so. We've all had the experience of seeing like ICOs and the speculation wealth, right? So NFTs, we wanted to give a real way that you could create value through the gameplay, which was a harder challenge, but it kind of puts the control of the success of the items in your hands instead of waiting on a project to like deliver or something to happen so that your asset is valuable. So, I mean, having that collectability and utility, not only is it really proving the use case for having digital art that has utility, which I think has value in itself, but also the platform in which you can use skills.
Cool. And as we're winding down on time, do we want to maybe take some audience questions, or is there anything else that you wanted to?
Yeah, I think we should skip to the one slide on the revenue. Nope. No, the grid.
This one.
Yeah, that one.
Go back. This one. Yes.
So the this shows you like there's with the monetization, players can buy with cash consumable the neon, which then you can accumulate any of these other items, which all are meant to funnel towards your NFT. So you can play the game normally. You don't need to pay anything, or you can speed up the process if you'd like to, but it still does require skill in order to move through. So, I mean, still it requires strategy even to know how to use your neon and when to use different assets through the gameplay.
And then the next slide with the keys. Do you want to talk about the keys?
Sure. Yeah. So when we did the founder sale, we had like waitlist of about 14,000 people, and we gamified the waitlist. So then we only allowed the first 1,000 to participate in what we called the founder sale. First, you had to buy the key, which gave you access to the sale. This is a founder's key. So it was in your wallet and unlocked access to buying things. And then, so those were the founder's assets. But what's neat about the keys is they're almost like a reputational and governance system for us. They gave you access to a private Discord forum in which players then were also able to, if you had the key, you could play every build that we released every week. So you could be really close with the development team. The development team would put out, like, this is what's in this build, this is what's new, this is what we're looking for, these are known problems. And then the community would come back and give really in-depth feedback so that they really do feel like founders.
Skin in the game.
Yeah, well, and that's one thing that we've brought with all of our previous work is this very strong, talented community. I mean, obviously, it was like a recruitment tool of talent with those puzzles, right?
Right.
So,
and those are transferable as well, right?
The keys, yes, the keys are transferable. So if you decide you're done with the game, you don't want to be a founder anymore, you can put up for sale. We had keys change hands for thousands of dollars, actually. I think one sold for $12,000.
Wow.
So, because they're weighted like in rank too. So I guess jumping to everything we've been building, we're announcing this week the blockchain developer platform that we've been building that's underneath Neon District with a lot of these tools. So we'll be releasing that on our Medium posts and social media. But we also just put out a paper today actually on how we're going to be using IPFS for the digital asset, the art for the digital assets.
Sweet. Awesome. And people can find that on...
So if you go to Neon District RPG, that's our Twitter. And from there, we share a lot of content. You can also subscribe neondistrict.io to our mailing list, and we're pretty good about sending updates. Yeah.
And people can find you.
And they can find me. I'm coin_artist on Twitter. And yeah.
Cool. Maybe like one or two questions?
Sure.
from the
Oh,
audience?
yeah, sure.
Does anyone have a question?
You said it's available, going to be on Steam.
Mm-hmm.
What is the date release?
So we're aiming for December 2nd because it's Cyber Monday, and that's pretty much Chris Chapman has promised we're going to hit that date. So.
And one last thing is I've never played a blockchain game before, but I'm really interested.
Mm-hmm.
What is the user experience? Is there such a different experience of playing like another type of game, or is that your goal, is to make it exactly the same?
Yep, it's going to feel just like a traditional game. So much so that you won't even know that these are NFTs. And the game will teach you at a certain point that maybe you have something valuable and open up. Because at first, you won't have anything valuable to play with. And then you'll be onboarded into what is the peer-to-peer marketplace. Maybe you have something valuable and it will let you know what it is and where it stands in rank. So yeah, and then that's kind of where you start teaching people about crypto. So our goal is to get basically crypto in the hands of as many people as possible. And why we would need such high throughput is because the gameplay is free, like it's free to play. So people are going to be minting really fast.
Do I understand correctly that actually what are you doing is having a game where people are running it normally, and then you have just the blockchain as a database of things that you are collecting there that's put it inside. You don't actually run on the blockchain the whole steps of each thing that's happening.
Not right. So the game state, there are different like markers with the game state, what's happening that gets recorded on chain, but it's not every single action on the blockchain.
Ah, okay, so actually you record the main things that you are getting, like you win that game and this battle, and your history is going back on the.
And different moments in the battle, so it's not just the whole battle. There's moments within the battle that will get stored.
Like timestamps.
Yeah.
Okay, great, thanks.
Cool. Okay, I guess we have one more.
So if it's free to play and you don't have to have like an existing web wallet, how are you allowing the users to have custody of their assets? And then also, are you paying the gas for every transaction on chain?
So Luma's delegated proof of stake, and so the cost is super low for us. And then we start with custodial, and then we allow players to decentralize that experience and take custody of their assets as they basically want it. But our point is that first you get them started, and then you start unlocking those features, because not everybody will want. So what we found in our research is only 10% of people, if that, move assets over to a mainnet wallet. Most people are just going to want to play.
Cool. Awesome. We're out of time. Thank you so
All right.
much. Thank you all.
Everyone, we could please have a round of applause.